Today I'd like to do a video on a new tent that I purchased. Over the past couple of years, I've really looked hard at the Zpacks Duplex tent. I think it's one of the coolest tents on the market. Just as far as the weight ratio, to the space ratio, to the convenience of the tent, everything about it is just awesome. I would really love to have one of those tents. The problem is, those tents are extremely expensive. In 2019, when I'm looking at the prices, they never go on sale because they're such in high demand, because they're a great viable option for the Dyneema material, former Cuban fiber material, that everybody wants them. When you watch videos of thru hikers, people hiking long distances, and the option of having a Zpacks Duplex tent of 19 ounces or maybe 22 ounces in the spruce green, a little bit stronger fabric, which is the .74, I believe, fabric, you're talking $620, $625, something to that effect. It's very expensive, and I don't feel like that I can do that at this time to pay that kind of money. So I looked at other options out there on the market, and what are some things that are comparable? Well, once you move away from the Dyneema fabric, then you're trying to seek out something usually in the line of sil nylon or material, some sort of nylon material. I looked at various options, but what I found is this Lanshan tent. This is how it comes. It's a Lanshan Flames Creed 2 tent. Essentially, the tent itself runs about $100 to $110, and that's where I found it. I found it on AliExpress for basically $100. The tent itself is made of a sil nylon material, a 15D, and it is in the waterproof material. Looks at around 3,000 millimeters of water resistant material. Now you can look that up and you can find all sorts of articles on that, but essentially from my vantage point and my limited education on the issue, the water resistance of the material essentially is like taking a 1-inch tube and placing the material on the tube and then pouring water in the tube and seeing how long that amount of water, 3,000 milliliters or whatever, the drops of water, how long it stands on the fabric before it will soak through. Probably didn't do all that right, but that's basically my understanding of it. And what I found was this 3,000 millimeter material, water resistance in the sil nylon, is perfectly fine for me. The difference is the sil nylon material will sag when it gets wet, and it will be heavier when it gets wet. So after a period of time and an overnight rain, when you pack up this tent, it's going to be heavier than it was the day before when it was dry. The advantage to the duplex tent and the Dyneema fabric is it's essentially not going to absorb water, and so you get a tent for a long period of time that you can just shake it out and get the water off, and you're good to go the next day. And it will take a little bit of drying out, but it's not going to absorb water like this. But this tent comes from China. I got it on AliExpress. It comes with tent stakes. It comes with the cordage that you need, and the other difference besides the material is it is a 2-ply material. So you got the inner net and the outer net of the rainfly that you're going to essentially have, whereas the Zpacks tent, you're going to have just one single layer. Both are then set in an A-frame type material, setup, and both are going to take 2 trekking poles or poles that you buy from either company. but I've simply just used my trekking poles for the tent. So here it is. So what I'd like to do today is kind of show you an inexpensive alternative to the Zpacks Duplex tent. This is the Lanshan Flames Creed 2. Essentially, this tent runs about 2.5 pounds, which essentially is 39 to 40 ounces, depending on what you look at on the specs. Whereas the Duplex, the lighter material, the 0.51 material in the green or blue, simply comes in at around 19.5 ounces, whereas this comes in at 40 ounces. So you're looking at double the weight. But still, for me, for the price, 40 ounces, not that big a burden when I'm talking about somebody like me who's not a through hiker, just a weekend or 4 or 5 day hiker at the most. I think it's going to be a good alternative for me when I'm not in kind of a bivvy tarp setup, when I want to have more room and I want to be out of the boat completely and have space to move around. I think this is going to be my option. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to set it up and I'm going to connect. As you can see, I've got a lot of adjusting to do, but these zippers are pretty good. They're strong. I can't explain to you just how awesome the room is on this tent. I am 5'11", and I got my feet at the bottom of the tent. And then at the top, I've got plenty of room up here to lay in. There is plenty of room. I'm up against the one side, and plenty of room, which I was looking for. All this room, 1.5 feet or so of room, and I don't even really have the pitch that well to put all my gear in here. It is incredible that it has this great mesh up here, but also has this
little bit stronger material, the nylon material down at the bottom, so that you can get the ventilation but still keep a little bit of warmth. There's good separation between the rain fly and the internet and mesh all the way around. There are attachments here and here that I can run extra string across to hang my clothes. Again, this is probably a terrible pitch that I have right now, but I am super impressed with the incredible amount of space that you have for your vestibule. And the bathtub floor is a lot more impressive than I thought. It's probably 3 to 4 inches in parts. The room in here is just incredible. This is exactly what I was looking for with these great D-style doors. I will attempt to adjust the bottom here, but you have this great little clip to put your pole in. Simply attach it to the bottom of the pole there. Great inner distinction here between the inner nest and the out. Then you have the guy lines come with it to pull out the head and foot end to give you more space. I'll try to roll up both. I've now been able to do some adjustments on everything, including the bathtub floor. What's great is that all these attachments have line locks on the corners with a bungee type pull out for the bottom that you can just attach onto your stake, and then these adjusters tension the outer rain fly. With that, you have even more definition, which looks to be almost a hand length, and just incredible amounts of room in the tent. As you can see, there is an incredible amount of space between the net and the rain fly, which will help with condensation, though I don't really think you're going to have much issues with condensation in here, because you can set it with this pitch over the rain fly. You're not going to have issues unless you just got a downpour rain. So you can open 2 doors or open all 4 doors in good weather. Then you have these tensioners that allow you to tension out the head and fly, the head and feet side. But then as I've just adjusted the floor, there's so much more room in here you could put 2 sleeping pads in here. It would be tight, but what I think it's perfect for is, in this floor, this width is of 1-person tent with all your gear. And that's what I was looking for. I was looking for a 1-person tent that I could put all my gear in and feel comfortable. Now, when I think about the comparison with the duplex, the obvious things that come to mind is we're talking about cell nylon. We're not talking about Dyneema. So that fabric is going to be different. It's this, when it gets wet, it's going to sag a little and you're going to have to tension it back out. Also, you're going to have to be thinking about the weight. You're at double the weight, whereas the duplex is 19 or 22 ounces depending on what you get. This is going to be about 40 ounces. But really the biggest selling point for me is the cost. This tent comes at about $100, maybe $105, depending on what you can find on sale, AliExpress or Amazon or whatever. And it's $110 versus $600 and so dollars. And you're virtually getting the same type of tent, a trekking pole, 2 trekking pole tent with pull-outs and an A-frame with these doors that overhang and the complete mesh setup. But really what sells it to me is the fact that you can put all your gear in here and have all your gear inside.
Well, that'll about do it for my review of the Lanshan Flames Creed 2-person tent. I think the materials and the stitching is great. The one thing I will do is I will, on these tension outs on the front
on the foot and the head end, I'll put some silicone on it to so that it won't leak. And I'll probably do that on all the seams just to make sure that we don't leak. But I'm very impressed with it. Anyway, thanks for watching this review of the Lanshan Flame Creed 2. I hope it was helpful to you. If you're interested in this tent, you can find it on AliExpress or